The webinar will begin very shortly here. We're just having a technical issue. Just one moment here. Just a couple more minutes here. Sorry, we are just dealing with a technical issue. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience while we try to deal with the technical issue. I'll be back in a moment with an update soon. Awesome. Maria, we're glad that you're able to hop on. We were just handling that technical issue.
Thank you, Tanya. It's good to see you. I wish I could be on camera. I'm having technical issues as well. So it's not been,
Yes.
it's not, I'm not connecting with Zoom well today.
No, you're good. We're glad that you're able to get on, and we're gonna just get started here. I'll get through my intro and we'll let you take it away, Maria.
Thank
Um,
you.
so today's webinar is Coach Your Team to Success. And we'd like to thank Center for Rural Affairs for sponsoring our trainings. And so we have a video from one of their team members just to give you a little bit more information.
Hello, and thank you for joining today's webinar, sponsored by the Center for Rural Affairs. My name is Nikki Chitwood, and I'm the Panhandle Loan Specialist. As one of the many services we provide, I am here to introduce to you our lending services. When a bank can't help you with your dreams of homeownership or growing a business, the Center for Rural Affairs can. We offer coaching and financing to help you become a homeowner and start or grow a sustainable business. Please feel free to contact me at 308-631-0157, or you can visit cfra.org for more information.
Great resource to get connected with. Visit their website and see who the closest rep would be in your area. They are a statewide resource, and so we'd like to thank them for sponsoring our webinar series. And then our featured sponsor for the month of October is Russ's Market. And so we'd like to thank them for being a sponsor and partner with Go Nebraska. And then our featured member for the month is An Affair from the Heart, and they've been a member with us since 2019. If you're looking for some yummy ways to use some Nebraska products in your cooking, or you're just looking to freshen up some of your snacks or desserts and stuff, great website to check out. Her stuff looks fantastic. I so encourage you to look at her website. And then today's presenter is Maria. And so I'm going to let you just take it away, Maria, and we look forward to learning from you.
Thank you, Tanya. Let's go ahead and get that going then. I'm going to share the screen with you right here. There we go. All right, everybody, we're a little bit different today just because I cannot be on camera. It is just not playing friendly at all. And I apologize because it was giving me that problem. We're not going to let that slow us down, right? We're business owners, marketers. We know how to ebb and flow. So I want to say thank you to Grow Nebraska. And I'm excited to be here, everybody. I always look forward to this session. So I was a little bit bummed that I was having those issues. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. If you've not met me, since I cannot put my face on the camera right now, this is who I am. You may have seen me at Marketech. And today we're going to be talking about how you can coach your team to success. Now, I've actually led teams for about 30 something years, and I've actually led remote teams longer before it was sexy than in 2020 when everybody did it. I've actually led remote teams since 2004. I've been on the Google team for 7 years, but I've led international e-commerce and remote marketing teams for the last 20 years. So everything today that we're talking about when you coach your team to success is how you can take this and apply it to really put together a strong team of people who are experts, but also all focused together on what they need to do to be able to get to the goal and to the mission of the company or the project that you're working on. So let's go ahead and dive it in. Before we dive in, I do want to make sure you get a copy of today's slides in the handout. So I'm going to go back a couple of slides here to this right here. You'll see that where you can utilize that QR code, and you can also utilize that link. So that is bit.ly/Maria Coaches. I'm going to put that here in the chat box too, so you can follow along. Plus afterwards, when you get a recording of this from the Grow Nebraska team, you might want to use this as a checklist and to make sure that you are putting some good coaching practices that you have now applied to learn, and actually not just learn, but to grow and to support a really good team. All right, so let's talk about how you can do that. Again, I'll leave that up for just a second so you can get that. And remember, you will get, you'll have access to that while we are in session. We're talking about how you can coach your team to success. If you need anything Google, you can use that blue link here. This is who I am. If we haven't met yet, I'm sorry that we have not met to be able to hug on each other here as we have in the past at Marketech, but I always love the Grow Nebraska team because they are so focused in making sure that each of their businesses in Nebraska are successful. You'll see here, this is me on X if you want to connect with me here, or me on Instagram. That's my handle here. I love when you tell me what you applied that you learned. So I love to give you shout outs and to share you. So I'll retweet, repost, share you in my stories to share you. But also I will make sure that if you have done and applied what you've learned, that I'll celebrate that with a virtual gift dance and really show you some visibility, because applying what you learned is much more power than just knowing things, right? All right, so let's go through here. We know, and this I see quite a bit, it's people related issues. I see so many who either don't communicate well with their team, micromanage their team. I mean, I can't tell you how many startups that I've been in with, and I've worked with over 12,000 plus startups that I've seen fail because of people related issues. In fact, I think this is low. Really, this number is low, because people, that's the number one issue that I see happening with businesses. When they get everything else right, financing, and they start getting things together, it's these people related issues. And the reason we're going to be talking today is how you can learn the skills of being a great manager. Now, the Google team actually puts this slide deck together. And while I see managers here, I tell people I actually talk about being great leaders, because I am very much a strong believer in you manage things and you lead people. There is a difference. And so I look at great leaders, because leaders help people draw from within, become empowered, and to be able to apply that own their empowerment and their expertise. They let them and really provide the path for them to use their superpowers. How to understand and coach your team, we'll talk about that. And then how to provide meaningful feedback, because communication is a two-way street. And that is important for you to understand. It's not just you broadcasting information, but you making sure that the person received the information with all the intent that was meant behind it. So let's dive into that. Again, for everybody just jumping in, I cannot be on camera today because something's wonky happening between Zoom and my camera. I'll figure that out later, but I am here live. So use that chat box, because that is where I can hear you. And I do want to customize this session to your questions and make the most of your time that you're investing here today. So what makes a great leader? Remember what I said, this is the Google team puts this out. I'm very much, leaders and managers are two different things. So what makes a great leader? So 10 attributes are you provide an inclusive environment. People feel like they all belong there. So you make them feel welcome and a part of it. Also, that they want to be empowered. They do not, nobody wants to be should on, and I've said should, SHOULD, should on. Nobody wants to be told you should do this, you should do that, you should. None of us like that. So are you empowering them or managing them? I usually see young leaders who don't have any self-confidence at all, because their lack of self-confidence actually is expressed in the fact that they have to try to control everything, because everything is a reflection on them personally, or it makes them feel powerful to do that. So it's usually a lack of self-confidence when I see a lot of micromanaging happening. So are you providing that as a good leader? Are you supporting their development and growth? People don't stay in one spot for the whole time. I mean, it's rare now to see people stay at a company for a year, let alone 40 years. So are you supporting the opportunity for them to align their dreams and wishes with what you're doing? Are you a good coach? There's a difference between a teacher and a coach, just like there's a difference between a manager and a leader. Let's go into that a little bit more in this session. You need to be a good communicator. That's a two-way street, everybody, backwards and back and forth, meaning that you have to know that they were received. There's, just like we do with any receivers, if we have two receivers, one satellite broadcasting, one receiving, we have to know that nothing's off, that there isn't static in the way, that something was filtered through an experience window that was received in a way that was not meant to. Have a clear vision and strategy for the team. This is critical. For a leader, for anybody, even in management, they need to know what the vision and strategy is. When you are confused, all you are doing is providing confusion and chaos to your team. They're productive and results oriented. So you know how to measure that. What is the contribution that they make, and how can you measure that to help them know whether or not they've gotten there, or is there a gap that you need to help coach them through? Collaborate, be able to work closely together like that, and understand that it's not competitive, it's collaborative. Be able to make strong decisions. Nobody likes an indecisive leader. Nobody, because the leader is the one looked to be able to say, okay, I see the big picture. I'm here at the top of the hill and I am saying this is what works best for us to move and shift this direction or continue. And then also key technical skills to be able to advise the team. This is also important because sometimes there are team members who may be new or maybe learned one way that may not be the correct way or works well for your company. You need to be able to provide that. When you don't have that, team members know that as well. So you need to have that idea. In fact, when I was first a new leader, so I came in, graduated from college and worked for a large retail company and had 23 people report to me at the age of 21. I was 21 years old. So my when I started that, and understand I was 21 in training because I was being mentored by somebody. So it wasn't until 23 when I was able to take over that area all completely 100% on my own. But for two, or actually a year and a half, because the half of the second year was actually going through all the processes and getting everything straight in the actual management, the paper management side. But for a year and a half, I did every role at every department. So at that time, it's a very large grocery store. If you don't know it, if you're not in the state of Texas, certainly it's a Texas-based grocery store. It's HEB. That's where I got my start right after college. So I know how to cut ribeyes. I also know how to fry the donuts. I know how to fry chicken. I also know how to dispense medicine if needed. I know how to balance a cash till, but I also know exactly how to front and stock a grocery aisle. And I needed to know all of these because this is what everybody was expected to do. Did I know it expertly? No, not at all. But I knew the steps and I understood. Like the butchers cannot be there at the saw in the back without their metal gloves on. Somebody's going to lose a finger and we're going to have some issues, right? So we're going to talk today about how you can be a good coach. Coaching is unlocking that potential of a person, really maximizing their performance. So it's helping them learn, right? Rather than just teaching them. We're not just throwing and dumping information on them. We are helping them walk through the process so they can apply what they've learned. So managers a lot of times teach. They're just giving some information there and they're helping people know these are some of the things you need to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. But coach actually takes them, how do you apply that? How do you uniquely apply that, Adam, compared to Jane here, who may apply it a little bit differently, but still needs to do this within the same requirements of the company. So we need to be able to help them get through that development and to coach them. That's why I say it's good coaching. It's the same thing you see, whether you think it's good coaching or not, on the sidelines of any athletic event. They may have walked the walk or actually played the play in their time, but now they're actually coaching people how to do that. So when you're a good coach for your team, you need to be a good listener. This is so important. People think communication, when somebody says and gets excited that somebody's a great communicator, people assume that it's that they're speaking and they're broadcasting that information out that makes them a good speaker. I find, though, and what you'll see, the truth is that when people listen well is when they are seen as a good communicator. I get lots of great comments when I'm at networking events that I speak so clear and succinctly. And I don't say a word other than, hey, tell me about your business. What's going on? Are you having any challenges? Is it growing as fast as you want? And then I'm quiet. The rest of the time, I'm 100% quiet, letting them lead the conversation. Because when people finally get somebody who can listen to them, they feel like they really connected with a good communicator. And this is half of the battle here, or actually more than that, but it is the part of the battle, because good listening is something you do not see. People listen now, just waiting for when the person's done so they can speak next. That's what they're waiting for, listening for their opportunity to speak. That's not the way to listen. And it's also good asking, that you're asking the right questions that will help them open up, not with just a yes, no, maybe, and then you go forward. You do want to ask some good asking and good questions that take them through the details. So what does good listening look like? First, there's internal listening, really paying attention, confirming everything. Understand that body language is over 80% of our actual skill set, where we take and get communication from is the body language of somebody. So how do you do that when we're all remote, right? So as you're connecting with people when you're remote, you have the opportunity to lean into tone that you hear, but also you can have a quick Zoom meeting, a Google Meet meeting. I use Slack a lot, so we do a lot of huddles on Slack. And I say, hey, let's just get on here real quick because it sounds like you're frustrated, but maybe I'm just reading that tone wrong in your writing, or in the audio that you left me. So again, I want to reconfirm my judgments. I'm not ready to make a judgment because yes, by my book, by my ruler, this looks like somebody that's frustrated, but I'm not sure if that's what they're really trying to express and it's coming across in that way. So I want to make sure that I'm receiving the right information. Also, level 2 is factual and focused learning. All right. So now we're actually listening to the facts. Okay. We're wanting to make sure that we're focused on the steps and the tasks that they're going through. And then there's level 3, which is where we want to get as coaches, is to really not only understand their body language and listen with the whole body, really to be focused with them. So we're not thinking about what we need to do next or that call that we're late for, or, why is this person asking this question for the third time? We want to lean in, really suspend our own agenda. And it sounds like to me. In fact, when I first started working with that grocery store company, one of my favorite exercises that we did, we went through a whole training actually with Cornell University. I learned about how you could do good communication. It's called leadership effectiveness training that we did. I'm actually certified in leadership effectiveness training. And one of the things that we did was, in a physical room, we all had squares. So there was a one line of squares all on a floor, right? And on one end, one person stood, and on one end, I stood. And then we had to say things to each other, talking through a question or an issue that we had. If that person made you feel safe, then you were able to take one step forward. And if you felt safe and heard, and if not, you took one step backward. And that was such an experience. And you could not stop the exercise till both of you were in squares right next to each other in the middle. So it was really a grueling exercise when you think about it, because now you're trying to go through and work with somebody that you don't know the canned answers to, but you're talking about through a scenario. And that's why I bring this up too, is because that listening, being able to make people feel heard and make sure that they read that you feel heard, is something that will help you. So parroting that and mirroring that by saying, it sounds like to me, and confirming that you received the information correctly is an important part of coaching and definitely a critical part of communication. So it's also good asking. So what does that look like? The why questions are just, right up here. You want to start first with the best questions of what and how. Google did a study. It's called the Aristotle study. And they were looking for what is the top attribute of high performing teams. And it wasn't resumes. It wasn't IQs. It was psychological safety. They have to feel comfortable that they're heard and that they are included and empowered. Psychological safety. It's the number one thing that people who perform in good and high performing teams actually have. They have psychological safety. So when you look here, info questions, who, when, and where, and what and how, this gives you a lot more information. And the why, sometimes when we talk about why, sounds a little accusatory. So we want to take them through a process and make sure that we understand, that we're not jumping to a conclusion and saying, why were you angry at Margaret? Well, maybe they weren't angry. Maybe they were frustrated at the machine, and they were so frustrated. And when Margaret happened to come up and put her hand, right where it was an eye, out of the corner of my eye, all of a sudden now I said, hey, I was worried about Margaret getting hurt. So saying, why am I angry? Why were you angry? Actually puts my judgment filter on it without me ever checking back whether or not that was true, whether confirming that judgment. I just went ahead and made the assumption that it was. And you know what they say about assumptions, right? If we assume, what happens? A coaching conversation is about that active listening, that back and forth. So if you are the one talking the most in a coaching conversation, you need to wait. That is an acronym for why am I the one talking? A coach is the one speaking less, because we're not teaching, we're coaching them through it. And we can't coach them through it unless we know for sure what is the issue, not our own judgment, what happens next, and what they need and what they have. So what we need to know as a coach is what's happening. What is the current state? Explain to me what's happening. And then we need to be able to paraphrase that, parrot it, if you will, at the beginning. Then you'll get much more natural with it and you won't sound like you're just parroting them. But what you want to know is, what is the current state? So when I'm talking to Margaret and I say, okay, or the person who snapped at Margaret, who if I was not doing this as a coach and I said, why were you angry at Margaret? Then I'm making some assumptions in there. But if I'm talking to the person, let's say John, I'm talking to John and I say, All right, John, now exactly what were you working on so John can walk me through it? So I can, for a moment, step into his shoes and exactly know what was he actually struggling with or concerned or focused with. And then what's most important to establish the future state? Where do we want to be? Well, we want to be where Margaret can get her work done and John doesn't snap at her and Margaret to feel that she's attacked, right? Even though that's not what's happening at all. John was more worried about her safety. So what's the future state? Future state. We want everybody to feel safe, right? So what are some of the steps that need to get there? How can we get there as a group? So I engage people who I'm actually coaching and say, what do you think that can be done there? Because they're the ones walking in their shoes. I'm not going to shit on them, right? I'm not going to say, you should do this, you should do this next time. I'm going to find out what would work best and would be helpful that everybody can agree upon. And how do you get there? What are those steps to move toward that future state? That's what good coaching looks like. So when you're growing, and that's the coaching model, you talk about the goal that you want, right? Where do we want to go? What's the reality of today? What just happened? What's real? And again, putting aside and putting on the panel somewhere else or on that table somewhere else, your judgment. Do not put your judgment in there. And then options for action. What are some things that can happen and what needs to happen to actually take those steps? So in the Grow Coaching model, you have this. What are your goals? So for those who just dropped in, if you've not gotten a copy of today's slides, let me drop that again to everybody right here. Oh, there we go. That way you get a copy of this because you might want this model here, especially if you're learning how to coach as opposed to being a manager. And so, you're going into the leader section. So the goal, number one, is to ask and listen, right? We want to know, remember what G stands for. It is the goal that you want. So first we want to ask and listen. What's the goal? So these are some really good questions that will help them not feel attacked, but feel like that they can open up and really talk about their frame of reference. Where were they coming from with all this? What is most important to you? How can I help? What's on your mind? What are your innermost needs? So you'll see all these here. I'm not going to read them all to you, but then what's the reality? What actually happened? Minus my judgment, what actually happened? What's happening in the situation? How how would you rank this in your priorities? Again, this is, if your perspective is welcome, consider feedback on skills. If they ask you for that, do not freely give that to you because they might be processing through this, and we all process at different times. There are several of you who, if I told you, hey, read this these questions right here out loud and head to the front of the room or head to the stage, some of you would be really thrown off because it takes longer for you to process the fact that you're about to stand in front of a group of people and speak out loud. For some of you, you'd grab this and you'd not only have this, but you'd have a few stories and maybe a joke or two to tell. So understand processing is different amongst different people, which is great. That's what makes the world go around, is that we bring all these differences in, and yet they all help in providing different perspectives that somebody may not know. In fact, one of the books that I read my kiddos, and it's still my favorite book. My kiddos are all my three boys are adults now. And they love to quote this book, and it's called The Seven Mice. So with the seven blind mice, these mice are all looking at something and they're all blind and they're touching it. And one's saying, well, it feels like a tree. This feels like a tree. And he's at the elephant's leg, and another one's at the elephant's ear, and he says, well, this feels like a fan. And then somebody else says, no, this is a hose. He's at the elephant's trunk. Well, they all have the right idea, but they have different perspectives because of their frame of reference, right? It's the same thing with people. It may not be right or wrong, but it's just that they have a different perspective. A friend of mine were doing that with each other once when we were at a coffee shop, and he put his coffee cup down. He says, describe this coffee cup to me from your perspective. And I couldn't see the writing on the other side from my perspective. Doesn't mean that him saying there's writing and me saying, no, there's not, that one of us is right and one of us are wrong. Both of us are right. Okay, what are your options? So what are the steps forward? And then the support and planning. What's the next right step that everybody can agree upon that's doable? Because you're now, again, coaching with somebody. So you're coaching through them. You're not teaching them, you're coaching them on how they can take their frame of reference and their own expertise and their actual person into this and how they can actually apply this. Okay, so let's talk about this coaching. What does it look like? So we've got Angela and Claire. Angela is the small business owner. Claire is the manager, and Claire is always showing up late for work, which means they can't open the front door because Claire is in charge of it. And that's a problem when people are coming to do business with you, and we small business owners are working our butt off and paying a lot of money to get people to come in the front door. Now, are we angry that somebody's late? Maybe a lot frustrated. So remember the scenario: goal, reality, options, and will. What are the steps and actions that'll happen? That GROW acronym. So we're going to help our team grow by giving them feedback. Again, keeping that balance. You may have heard of hamburger feedback or sandwich feedback. That's when you talk about the good, and then you talk about what needs to be fixed or what needs to be worked on, and then the good again, right? So there's a balance to that. Some like the other words, good, 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 and then not, then the what needs to be changed, what isn't aligning with the expectations. So again, keep that as a balance. People don't just want to hear from a leader when they're doing something wrong, because once they figure that out, that's the communication that's happening in the tone of the culture of your organization or your company or your family, is that they're never listening to you. It's only about what they want. They're always looking for the bad. So feedback and how to say it is also important. So you're going to describe the situation. This is one that's just filled with acronyms, SBI. And I actually love this one because you're going to describe the situation so that you're both on the same page. We all are in our minds. We've got all these different messages going on. Plus we're thrown all these different tasks and options all throughout the day. And now all of a sudden, now we're thrown into the same situation, expecting that the other person was on our shoulder and saw everything that we did. They did not. So we need to be able to describe the situation, describe it, the behavior. What is it that they did exactly? No judgment. You're not wrong. You were being angry. You were being aggressive towards her. What's the behavior? What made it look like it was aggressive that got you to that judgment, that conclusion? And the impact. What's the impact of that behavior? All right. Again, how is that linked to a goal or a personal development goal? If you're their leaders, let's say, and they report to you, so they might have a personal development goal, is that they're going to become more involved in team activities within business because they're more maybe a loner. Let's just say that was a situation. Or in this instance for Angela and Claire, personal development is, hey, we talked about the importance of opening that door before, and you told me on time, and you told me that was important to you. And I know that's something that's a skill that you can take everywhere. So, we'll talk about clarifying what those next steps are. What that looks like on a grid, for example, is it could be that the situation could be that you're, in a coffee shop this morning, and then you're talking about the situation when the store gets busy during rush hour, maybe the behavior of what happened. So you're talking about the actual situation. So this is what it looks like when you're talking about that behavior that we talked about the slide before, the behavior of what they did. You're talking about you went above and beyond to really help a customer, or you didn't perform or delegate out of our important cleaning protocol. And that's so important. We don't want anybody sick and ill, and we don't have that reputation that somebody can get sick and ill at being at our coffee shop. And then the impact, the customer later contacted, so exactly what happened, so they see the rest of the story, and again from the vantage point that you have as well. This puts our customers and our staff at risk, right? So this is one way to see this. And again, when you get the slides or when you download the slides, make sure you get those, because you may want to look at this to help you start formulating this, especially if this is a new skill set for you. Let me go back here. So let's talk about that where did I lose her? Lost Claire. Oh, some reason. I don't know why I lost that. Hold on. All right, we all saw the Claire one. Let me look real quick here. Hold on. I just want to make sure that we pause this just for a moment. Hold on just a second, because I want to make sure why I've lost a slide. Yeah, I don't know what happened here. But okay, let's take this through Claire. I'm going to just take it and let's do a live one of this, and I will resume. All right. So with Claire, right? Angela is the business owner. Claire is coming in late. What's the situation? Claire is coming in late. So if I'm coaching Claire, I could say, Claire, you were 20 minutes past the time to open the door today, and we had a lot of customers standing outside waiting to get in, and they were upset with us because they really wanted to come get their flowers. So let's say we're a floral shop. They wanted to come get their flowers, and they were on a tight schedule too. We've talked about this before, so I am concerned and would like to know, exactly what happened this morning, right? Because Claire may tell you, you know what? Um, my mom was just diagnosed with cancer, and I was trying to process all this and get here and was crying at the same time. There's so many different reasons, right? But we need to know this. It's just like if you ever heard the story about the man with the unruly kids on the train, that people were upset with him on the train. And so they were telling him, you've got unruly kids. And then he finally said, my wife just passed away. We're just coming from the hospital. And I don't know what to do next. And all of a sudden they know his frame of reference. So understand, you want to know this first as the leader. It's on you to get this. It's not on them to tell you. It's on you to get this, because they may not be, their state of mind may be somewhere else, or it could just be that, Claire's late. We're going to find out the situation. Then the behavior, what they did. All right. So you were and we had a lot of people waiting outside, and they were waiting for you. Exactly what was going on this morning. What was the delay? Again, from the listening standpoint, okay, so you were having some problems getting your car started this morning. It was really, really challenging. So have you looked at getting this repaired, or looking at this, or look at other options? You might want to, think about that. What could you do to get here on time? What are some of the options for you? And then they'll come up with, I can ask so-and-so, I can take the bus, I can take the subway, whatever they're doing. You now will have some clarity on that. I can ask my neighbor for a ride, whatever it is that you need to do. But you can talk them through this and actually coach them through this. Remember, for giving feedback, you always want to get them to what that vision of success is. If you view somebody as a failure and not being able to do that, they will live up to that expectation. If you've ever seen The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, and you've seen some of the movies, there's a phrase in there that I love that actually one of my sons hangs on to, and he says, if you treat someone like a dumb animal, they will behave like that, because of the expectation there. So what's your expectation of people? And I hear a lot of managers who will say, oh my gosh, they're just, it's like having drones out there, or they're mindless people. Well, I said, of course, they're going to behave that way if that's the way you treat them. So again, looking from that standpoint, especially as a business owner, we don't have time for any of that kind of drama. This is not about being jerks. This is about getting the job done and building the business. Try using the steps that we talked about here, those grow steps, really how you can get better at active listening, be a much better listener, and be able to prepare is the key to that. So being able to take your emotion out of the situation and to be able to prepare for that. Now, does this mean that you coddle people? No, I'm big about documenting this down and showing, hey, we had a coaching session here. I coached you on this here. I coached you on this here. And some people just aren't a good fit. So you can't always coach somebody into that right fit. They may not want to. Remember, this is not about teaching them. This is about them learning. And sometimes the student is not ready for that. So that's not a good match. You need to be yourself. So if this is not you, you may need to work on that. If you're not one who likes to give feedback, you just expect people to know, this, when we all read this, we should all understand this, then you need to take a step back and find out, okay, is this me, and do I need to work on things? Maybe I have some personal development too that needs to happen before I am better at coaching. And of course, you want to adapt the style to you, right? If I don't talk about transparency and authenticity, if that's not my real words, then I'm not going to use those words. I might say, hey, I want you to be real and honest with me and open with me. So that might be my words. Again, you want to adapt this to your style, but I like to go over the acronym, because you can, when we go back here, let me stop for just a moment. I'm going to pause that share, because I do want to go back to that acronym, because when we do this, then you can, in your own style, apply this. So as we look here, for example, in this situation, it's in the coffee shop in the morning, and you saw somebody do real well. So understand, coaching doesn't happen just when you want them to learn something that they missed. It's also when you want them to learn this is the great behavior and more activities and actions that we want more of. So you saw somebody go above and beyond. So remember, it's not just looking for the bad, it's all the way. What would make that excellent team member that you do want here helping you represent or work through your business? They went above and beyond to accommodate somebody with special needs. So that's, I mean, we want that. Not fear, not looking away like they didn't see the person, but what are they doing here? And then what is that impact? So as we give them this feedback, we're taking them through the impact and we're discussing and clarifying that. Excuse me. And we're creating options and agree on next steps. So the impact for this is, what they did, how this happened, what happened. The customer actually contacted management. Excuse me, just a moment. Let me take a quick drink. All right. So how they contacted management, what that meant, it even could be that they left a review, they felt supported, they told their friends, they were excited. So now you can say, hey, you can see how this actually impacted somebody. And I love this. So talk about, what are some of the things that help you recognize somebody? Because, I found out a lot of times that there are some team members that have family members with different challenges. We even educated the rest of the team because I actually saw them in action, or another leader saw them in action. And now that we saw them in action, we're able to express that and they're able to apply their experiences and share that with the team. So the team can now learn. Again, it could be motivational or it could be developmental. You know what? There's some things we need to work on. So we want to keep everybody motivated, working on the same track, applying some new behaviors and things and growing themselves developmentally. Or it could be that they need some basic development that, it's rush hour and you didn't do what you needed to. And this is the issue of that. And this is why this is so important, right? Shortcuts are one thing, but we don't want to shortcut on that safety for our customers and for the rest of the team members, right? So let's go back here. Again, and sharing that more positive and motivational feedback. That's really, really important, right? And you want this 5-to-1. Okay, not just the sandwich that we talked about going good and then what's bad and what's good, because people know that style already. We want 5-to-1, 5 good things to 1. And that may stretch you as a leader because you might look at somebody and go, oh my gosh, I don't know what they do good. But think about that. Is that your judgment or is that really them? So that you can slow down and really see that person and see the situation. And maybe there's some solution there that you can all work on and now make a more empowered, more productive team. So remember, as we were looking through this, are you creating that inclusive environment where people feel heard, that they can speak to somebody? A lot of times I'll see some, very authoritative leaders. These are leaders who lead by title only. They do not have the respect of their team. It's only because they respect the title. And because of that, it doesn't feel like an inclusive environment, right? We need to make sure that we have that inclusive environment. We need to be a good coach. We're not teaching people. So what does good coaching look like? Well, it looks like this. We want to talk about the goal. We want to talk about the reality of today. So the goal, we want to keep that in mind. The goal is to have a great experience for our customers. The reality of today is clear. You didn't open the door on time and customers were standing outside waiting, worried about being late to work or to school. And that doesn't make them feel like they're having a great experience. So what are our options? What are some things that can help fix this? Or what are you running into that there might be some other options so that we can solve this so you can make it on time? And what will you actually take steps on? Will you start, letting your neighbor know, you know what, I'm gonna pick up kiddos after school, so I'm gonna ask my neighbor to take me to work, when we do this. So that's what we're gonna trade off. Or I'm gonna be able to borrow so-and-so's car for this portion, and then we're gonna trade off during lunchtime. There might be different things that they can actually do that you may not even be aware of since you don't walk in their shoes. Again, going back to this, what is the situation that they're actually dealing with, really knowing and looking at the behavior too and that impact. This is not easy to implement. A lot of people will look at this and think, oh my gosh, this is so woo-woo. I don't know if I want to do that. How do you get people not to walk all over you? You don't have to be woo-woo to do this. This is about honing in listening skills. You still want to be very firm, fair, and consistent, But in doing that, did you really hear the person, or are you operating all through your filter of your own experiences and own judgment? Because then you're not taking advantage of and tapping into everybody's pure potential and expertise. So we've covered quite a bit here today, right? Take deep breaths, because this is coaching, and coaching does take time, but I will tell you that time investment will save you some really great team members and also keep you long-lasting team members. And we know how hard it is and how much time it takes to go look for team members. I always roll my eyes back when it's time to, oh gosh, I've got to look for new people and they need me to hire them, because when I come in to hire, I'm very, very selective about that. So it's not really just right away. And then I'm very, very quick to let go of people if they're not a good fit. I don't wait for the 90 days. So I want to make sure you're a good fit. And if you're not a good fit, if you're not coachable and not open to learning that makes a big difference. Grow Nebraska is a great resource for this, because of course the Grow Nebraska team, they are there for you. They are vested in your success. And I love how they connect all the Nebraska businesses together. So there could be somebody that can help you with this, especially if you have to work on your personal development and listening skills. So do reach out to them, because they are there to support you, and they're a wonderful team, everybody. I adore how much they appreciate and support small businesses, especially the local small businesses there in Nebraska. If I've been helpful to you, I would love a review. Just like every session that I do, I tell everyone to do this. I model it. If you've given good information or good support, good product, then do ask for a review. You do not have to leave one, but I would be honored if you did. Okay. And if you do want to connect with me, this is how you can connect with me. But know that I'm here every month with Grow Nebraska, first Wednesday of the month. I am here and I'm happy to be here. I'm so honored to be a part of being able to help you become a better business owner and to be able to really empower your team. And that is actually through coaching. All right. Let's see if anybody has any questions right now, Tanya. I'll open that up, and you may have some things to close it up as well, too.
Yes. Yeah. If anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll get those answered. And then, yeah, if you guys have any questions after the webinar, I do put Maria's email in the recording email. So if you did have a specific question about today's webinar, you can
Thank you,
always
Tanya.
reach out. I know sometimes I'm a thinker after the fact.
I am most definitely that. I never have the right question in there. So that's why I like connecting with people on their socials, because then that's when I have the question afterwards. Give me 24 hours,
Yeah.
I have it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I might, Maria, start closing us out. And if a question
Okay.
comes in, I'll just pause and let you take care of that. But
Okay,
I'll
I'm going to go
reshare
ahead.
my.
Perfect. I'll stop the sharing then, so you can do that. Thank you, Tanya.
Yeah. Okay. So, everyone, thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Maria, we always enjoy having you. Our first Wednesday of the month, you kick off our month with really great topics. And so we definitely appreciate you as well, Maria, and all you do to help us here at Grow Nebraska as well, and Nebraska businesses.
Thank you.
And yeah, and then our upcoming trainings for the month of October, we have a special webinar session October 16th with Daniel from Amazon. He's going to go over Kindle Direct Publishing. And then October 17th and 24th, we are still kind of determining those, just finalizing out some of the topics. So keep an eye out for that, but just highly encouraged to check out our upcoming events calendar. You can scan this QR code here, or I'm going to send a link in the chat. And then we do have Market Tech coming up in 2025. It may seem like this is a long ways away, but it will approach quickly. And so we ask you to save the date. We do have a leadership track this year. And so if you're definitely looking to hone in on more of what today's webinar went over, we do have a leadership track. And so keep an eye out on the agenda for more finalized takeaways on those. But it's March 25th and 26th. And I know Maria and our Grow team are discussing on bringing Maria back. And so keep an eye out for that. And so, yeah, Maria, we'd love to have you back. And I know we
I
were
would be back in a
discussing the
heartbeat.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, if you're wanting to attend, it's March 25th and 26th. And then we do have open office hours. So if you're interested in Grow Nebraska, you're a Grow Nebraska Women's Business Center client or a Grow Nebraska member, you can come in, and if you're a perspective and just kind of wanting to know more about Grow Nebraska, we answer all those questions. Or if you're a Women's Business Center client or a member, we'll just we can just chat about anything that you want to chat about. And so definitely take advantage of those. Those are with me on, I think, Tuesday at 11, and then Thursdays at 3. And then we highly encourage you to follow us on social media, stay up to date on all things happening with our members in Nebraska, as well as any of our trainings. And then we do ask, if you did enjoy today's training, to leave us a Google review. If you want to mention Maria and my name, Tanya, in the Google review to let us know which training you hopped on. We'd love to see that. We ask that you leave 2 to 3 sentences. And I did send a link as well in the chat, but you can scan this QR code here. And then just once again, thank you so much for joining our training. If you do have any questions or topic suggestions, you can contact me. Or if you have a specific question about the webinar session, Maria's email will be in that recording email that will go out either later today or tomorrow. And that is everything. And so let's see here. I don't think we got any more questions. So everyone, I hope you have a good rest of your Wednesday. And thank you again, Maria.
Thank you, Tanya.
Bye.
Bye.